Hi, Mike Hancock here, Chairman of the Circle of Excellence Group, and welcome to today's webinar, which is also going to be about consumers. And Libby, I saw your comment there. I'll be sharing that on the Facebook group later on, if I read it right out of the corner of my eye. If I didn't, ask me later. Okay, so let's have a look at the world of consumers in 2026, because there's some interesting data that's come up. And whilst I don't have the latest data to kick us off with, I think this is still really interesting. So let me ask you a quick question. And that quick question is, what do you think is the main reason? And I'll ask you to unmute. And Ian and Annalise, I'm going to ask you this question because I can see you and I can see you're attending diligently there. What do you think is the main reason, Ian, that customers leave somebody?
Break of trust.
Okay, break of trust. Thank you. Annalise? Unmute.
You were muted, Annalise.
I wanted to say ditto, because I also think so.
Okay. Anybody else apart from a break of trust?
Mike.
Hi, Yanni.
Hi. Lack of communication. You don't communicate with them enough, so it's easy to give up on you.
Okay, very, very interesting. I like this one. Hold that in our minds. Yes, James.
Better value somewhere else.
Better value somewhere else. Yeah, interesting, right? So this survey is a couple of years old, right? So it's not 2026. I couldn't find the 2026 one. So why do customers leave you? Lack of appreciation, a single poor customer experience moment, and constant customer emails, which is the opposite to what Yaniv said, right? Which doesn't make him wrong, because he's also right. But we can over give. Sometimes I think about it. Sometimes I've got so much to tell you guys, and I go like, I just can't tell you this. I'm going to have to wait a few days because this is just too much. Particularly in the recent weeks where we've changed out of our Disco platform and gone back to Facebook. But here's the interesting thing. Have a look at the data here, because these are the three big ones. There are many, many others, but these are the three big ones. 71% of people surveyed in this survey said they leave from one single poor customer experience. That is crazy. And I'll show you how easy it is. We're about to run on the 2nd of October. We're running a one-day event in Stellenbosch. All of you in South Africa and even overseas should consider coming, called the Bookable Speaker. And we're going to be looking over that one day at what makes everybody bookable. So we've got 20 spots, what makes somebody bookable. So I just went to book the hotel. I've been researching hotels this morning and I went to book them. And they came back and they can do it. My price, love the venue, it's all great, all that sort of stuff. So I went back and I said, our audience is 80% vegetarian. We know that because we just ran our Bali Business School and our audience is now about 80% vegetarian. So that's what they like. They came back and said, sorry, we can't change what our chef likes to make. I'm like, WTF, do you not want any freaking business, right? So I've actually gone back to them and said, what does your chef like to make? Because the chef might actually come back and say he likes to make, vegetarian things, like, for goodness sake, and it'll be some dummy at reception. But a single poor customer experience, 71%. Then lack of appreciation. It's so fascinating. We don't get everything right by a long shot, and we're not perfect. I'm not suggesting that. But one of the things, I've never been in a business where I finish calls with customers where they say, I love you guys, and we say, we love you too. But it happens in this business, right? And it's strange. I think it's just good. It's just nice. And I think all of you do feel appreciated. Well, hopefully you do, because you are. The third one, 42% leave because of constant emails to them. And if you think about it, this is probably more to the Alex Mendoza and Grant Cardone type of situations, the American situation where every day you get another freaking email from somebody, right? And you're just like, haven't you said enough? So just keep this in mind as we go in and start looking at this consumer blueprint here. The blue is external experiences that somebody's having at a particular time, and the orange or the gold is internal dialogue that they've got. And we're going to look at both. So I want to throw this around. So I'm going to do the presentation, then we're going to come back and we're going to hear from some of you what you think, because I'm really interested in your opinions for 2026, right? So let's have a look now at some of the blue. So I'm going to start with three major touch points. And this is external touch points where people are going externally at the moment. So people are scrolling. That's what they're doing. They are majorly influenced by what's on their feed at the moment. And, you know, there's so much fake news out there. It's just incredible. I was talking to Dr. Mark Van Rijmenen, who's one of the world's leading futurists and a great speaker from Australia, about 3 weeks ago, and he presented on our Global Speakers Federation board meeting. I asked him to. And one of the things he presented was 93% of what's going up on LinkedIn at the moment is AI created. Like, what the hell? So I'm not doing it. In fact, it's making me even go further away from AI in terms of what we're doing. In fact, I created a nice picture for our the Bookable Speaker event, and Landy said, "You're not using that, it's AI." We'll get one designed. In fact, she was able to design one in that's really nice in a few minutes, which was great. Didn't even have to go to our designer. But yeah, so AI, what's it telling us? Is it telling us the truth? Some of you were on my webinar last week where I introduced myself to the people that obviously didn't know me. And I said to AI beforehand, I said, tell me something that I can tell everybody that they don't know about me. And it said, tell them how you lived in a tent in Africa for 4 months. I thought, that's awesome, I'll do that. But I never actually lived in a tent in Africa for 4 months. AI made that up. It's like, so if you're asking it a question, what's it telling you? And if you look at this girl here who's constantly scrolling and her brain's getting fed all this AI stuff, this is externally coming in, and all this fake news, what's she starting to think and believe about the world? And maybe about you. Second one is, what are we listening to? Our podcasts, right? Now, she's probably not listening to a podcast because nobody makes you that happy. It's probably more likely she's listening to Lundy's new song, Alien Friend. But definitely our podcasts are influencing us a lot. And for instance, I'm not a big fan of Stephen Bartlett and Diary of a CEO. I think he's emotionally like 5 years old. But I think he has some really great guests on, so I do listen to it from time to time. But every time he speaks, I say, shut up and let the guests speak. But he's done really well. I got to hand it to him, that's for sure. So what are we listening to? And thirdly, what are we reading? You know, what are we spending our hours of downtime reading? And it's so interesting because today with AI, there's so many rubbish books out there. I mean, for the last 10 years, probably longer now, we've experienced, you know, a lot of people who have had businesses, and fair play to them, you're allowed to do what you want, saying, write your book in 48 hours. Now, we had a client who did that, and her book actually did really, really well. And it was actually quite a good book. But most of them that I've read, it's just full of rubbish, and it's just regurgitated stuff. So what are people reading at the moment? This is influencing them dramatically. So let's move on to the next thing. Now he has a spinning wheel on his presentation, which is always very useful. Here it is. 3 major influences. So let's have a look at the influences. Here come our ears. This is what we're sort of hearing in the marketplace and what we're listening to. So we're probably listening to, or your clients are probably listening to other experts. It amazes me in the last 12 months in South Africa, how many speakers and consultants I've talked to who tell me that Standard Bank is their number one client. Standard Bank must be using 100 different people in a year, right? So they've got the ear of 100 different of us in a year. So a lot of your customers are listening to a lot of people, not necessarily just you. You guys are listening to a lot of people, not just us, right? The other thing is that they're also listening to their significant other, particularly in downtime. They're reframing their life and things like that. They're reframing, do you really need to spend that money? Is this really a good idea? Shouldn't we do this? Wouldn't it be better to go on a holiday than to do that? And the other thing is they're also gossiping with other people over lunches and coffees and stuff like that. So they've got a confidant that they're gossiping with. So all of these things are creating potential good or bad situations for you. Good. Last night, fantastic. Caroline, who's a great client of ours from Germany, sent me a note saying she was chatting to a speaker from America yesterday, told this speaker they should hire us to help them in their business. They'd heard of us, and now I'm speaking to this speaker. That's a great bit of gossip, right? I like that gossip. But, it can also be bad stuff as well. So one of the beautiful things about being president of the Global Speakers Federation is you annoy as many people as you make friends with. So I know in particularly Australia at the moment, I'm not necessarily flavor of the month, depending on who you talk to there. So just because of some arguments I've had with them about their business in the last year, which has got nothing to do with personalities and nothing to do with what we do, but it all happens, right? So these are the influences that tend to happen on us. We'll just wait for my wheel to spin. It wasn't doing this before I attached this to Zoom because I actually ran the test before this. Let's now have a look at 3 things that people are integrating with at the moment. And these things are also influencing them in many ways. The first is travel. There's a lot of people traveling, even though airfares have gone up. There's a lot of people being influenced by what's going on in the travel scene. It's a lot more difficult than it used to be. We just had a new president of the Global Speakers Federation who took over from me last week, be knocked back on her Schengen visa. So she can't go to conferences in Europe. It's like, really? Like, you're the president of a global association, you've got no bad background, and they knock you back on a visa. I mean, it's just crazy. This is the travel stuff that's affecting people. Then there's the whole housing, property, where do I live? What's my neighborhood like? My local socioeconomic group, etc. Is my neighborhood going to the pack? Is it going up? Do I feel like the poor boy on the street? What are the Joneses doing? There's all this sort of stuff that's happening as well. And then there's this one. What do I drive? What do I have? Okay. We don't have a car at the moment. I'm looking to buy a car in the next month or 2. I'm sort of honing it down, but we haven't had a car for the last couple of years. We haven't needed one, been traveling too much. So we're in a rental. Our latest rental is one of those boxy little Suzukis, and it's red. I'm going like, I really don't want to have to go meet a CEO from a major corporate in my boxy Suzuki rental at the moment. I'm going to have to park that round the corner, right? Because even I'm like, I know that they expect me to pull up in at least a decent car, right? Not something that, you can buy for $11,000 or something. So these are things that are influencing all of us at the moment. That's the external. Let's stop there, and let's before we jump into the internal, let's get some feedback from you. What do you think is affecting people externally at the moment that could have a positive or a negative effect on you? Well, it's a tough question. Yes, Yanni, and then Ian, and then whoever else that was.
I think the word of mouth is very important. What people in my surrounding tell me, what they read, which shows they went, which podcasts they hear. We meet all the time, especially as speakers and consultants. We meet people all the time. So what other people tell us during our day is really, really important for us. because it's our environment. This is the people we are related to.
It makes you quite right, Yaniv, and it makes it really important about who you let into that space as well, and how much time that you spend with them. You know, we were looking at a venue for Landi's album launch, and that's coming up in September. And we met with one, and I really like the venue. Landi likes the venue; it's really great. But we sat down with the woman, and just honestly, the toxicity that came out of her mouth, Landi said, "I don't want to use that place. The place is great, and it's the right price, and it's got a lot of wow factor." And then we met somebody yesterday, and the place is really average. Like, but the people are fantastic, and you know, he just wants to do so much for us, and just got such a can-do attitude about life. And you just go like, this person at the first place is not even going to know that it's her toxicity that's going to lose them the business. Isn't that interesting? I like your comment, Livy. I just read that. In my experience of listening, gossiping, lots of pessimism and negative emotions. Yeah, absolutely. Ian, go for it.
So, I mean, it's not really consumer, it's my market of leaders. And what I'm seeing is they are so overwhelmed at the moment. There's so much stress. They have got AI overwhelmed. They've got learning and growth overwhelmed, where they're kind of saying, yeah, I do want to grow, but I just can't. I don't have the capacity. So a lot of capacity issues. And so it's how do we, position a message that actually can help them out of that sort of survivor state. That I don't know if that actually is relevant to your question, but there seems to be something there.
I like what you're saying, because let's get real about it for a minute, because this affects a number of us on the call. Don't we live in a time where everything's easier? Meaning, if I want to clean my house, I just push an app on my phone and my vacuum goes around and cleans my house, right? That's the time in which we live. So why are these people so overwhelmed and lack of capacity? The only answer is they're spending all their time doing the wrong things right. They're perfecting what doesn't matter. And I think we have to be really straight with people and say, let's take inflation into account. Let's get real. If you're a financial service company, let's take inflation into account. How much have you really developed in the last 10 years compared to how hard it is? Everybody's working 30% harder. Are you 30% bigger? Probably not. You might even be smaller, especially in medium business. Corporates tend to go, oh, well, I did absorb this company, so I am bigger. But, it's a really interesting question. I think, we've got to be more real about it. And I think this is something maybe with customers is, let's try and not please them. Let's be honest with them. We're so scared of losing a deal, but, once we please them, we're just going to lose the deal in the future anyway, because we're not going to get a result. Somebody else had a comment as well. Yes, Inga. Just unmute. Yep.
So I work from home, and I spend a lot of time on by myself and I work from home. And so I'm extremely sensitive to my environment and what input I have in my life. And for me to have a positive day, I have to listen to a lot of motivational speakers, music stuff to up my day. So the input I have from the outside world, if it's negative comments or negative mindsets or negative gossip, I tend to cut that out of my life, because it's a downer. There's not a lot of people I communicate with, and I'm an empath, so I kind of soak things up tremendously. And yeah, it can change my day from a positive vibe to, oh my goodness, like this person has actually just dampened the rest of my day. And then it takes me an hour or two just to uplift my day again and to get motivated again for the rest of the day, you know. So I've learned techniques to communicate to people and say, listen, is this conversation actually serving us in this moment? Is this conversation serving us to be productive for the rest of the day or not?
Good question. I think you're controlling your environment very well, and I think we're lucky to have you on these calls. It means that we must be uplifting, which is a good thing because you don't have anything that's not uplifting there. Look, honestly, one thing I would say is that, you've got at the moment about 11 or 12, no, 11 fantastic people on this call. Once a week, have a chat with one of them. Just drop them a note and have a chat. All of these people are hugely positive, can-do attitudes, really interesting lives, as you have as well. And I think this is the way we can, you can share networks, you can look at helping each other, you can do all sorts of things with it, and just take half an hour once a week and speak to somebody else in the Circle of Excellence world, because they really are great people. Fantastic.
Right.
Thank you. Let me move on. We'll come back with more comments a little bit later on, and let's jump back into the presentation. Funny how your screen reorganizes things so you can't hit the play button. So, okay, let's move on. So now we're going to look at internal dialogue. So what's occupying their minds? What are their belief systems? What gets them going during the day? And what exactly is an inconvenience or a worry to them? So let's have a look at their three major values. First one is, for most people, is family. People are going to put family first. Gone are the days where, I remember when I started work, bosses would say to people, I don't care how you drop your kids off at school, just be here by 8:30, These days, we as bosses have to say, yeah, I know you're dropping your kid off and they can't be there until 8:45, so we'll see you at 9:00, right? And we'd appreciate it if you make up the time. So family comes first for pretty much most people these days. And that's quite a major change, because it wasn't like that 20 years ago. Then there's our freedom. Our freedom to do what we want, when we want, wherever we want, with whomever we want. And this is really important for many, many people. And thirdly is luxury, beauty, our aesthetics. We are so much more aesthetic driven than ever before. For the South Africans on the call, I wonder how we'd all go living in a shack for a week, right? And yet some of those shacks are spotless and the beds are probably cleaner than some of the ones most people who don't live in shacks sleep in. So, but we're very aesthetically driven. And this led to consumerism and a whole range of other things. And my gosh, my favorite dislike, packaging. The other day, I bought 5 things off Takealot. That's a South African brand. They got delivered to the store. My stuff I bought was about, I don't know, the size of an A4 page. The packaging took up, most of the bin area. So it was just like, but we're aesthetically driven. That's what we want. We want nice things. Like Ian, I'm looking at his chair. I'm going, that's such a nice chair that Ian's got. Makes him look so dignified. It's part don't mess with me and part vampire. I like that. Really good. Okay, so that's 3 major values. We have to keep those in mind, because this is what people are thinking about all the time. But they've also got 3 worries, right, that they're thinking about. The biggest worry for them is time. Maybe not for all of you. Some of you are really good with this. But for most of my life, I've thought, I'm running out of time. I'm never going to have enough time to do this. I'm never going to have enough time to do everything I want. I'm never going to have enough time to see the world, et cetera, et cetera. So I've always thought that. It's a big thing for people, time. Then this one, what's happening in the world? You know, what's Trump going to do next? You know, who's going to bomb who next? What's happening in the Middle East? What's happening in Russia and the Ukraine? Do we even remember there's a war in Russia these days? You know, all of those sorts of things. What's happening politically in our country? What did this person say? What did that person say? You know, cheapers, some stuff I've seen in New Zealand, my country, just recently politically is just like, oh, I don't want to be in New Zealand. There's no way I want to be. Leave me in South Africa where politics is understood. New Zealand, it's not. And number 3 is my kids. I'm worried about their future. This is a big worry for parents at the moment. You know, parents are looking at the world that we're looking at, and we're going like, jeepers, how do we make way in this world? How do we battle with AI? What's my kid going to be doing? What sort of job? They're not going to have a job. They're not going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Those things aren't going to exist by the time they go through college. And if they do, it's going to be really hard to get into. And no, not everybody wants to sit in front of a computer or every day. So these are big worries for people. So I think we need to consider that, because when we're pitching whatever we're pitching, we have to reassure people. And then there's the pleasures as well. Food and booze, okay, living the good life. You know, that's what people are thinking about. They're thinking about sharing great food. I mean, it's so funny that COVID came and went, 2 years of being locked up for many people in many countries. And, you know, that locking away, you know, people depleted their bank accounts, but the restaurants are as busy as they've ever been. So people prioritize, you know, going out and having a good time. People are prioritizing their own little quiet space now to do what they want to do. Whether it's watch their favorite binge on Netflix, as per this picture here, or whether it's to read a book, or whether it's just to chill out and get away from it all. And the third thing, hobbies. Whatever those hobbies are, people are really indulgent and they'll spend a fortune on those hobbies. So, you know, whether it's bike riding as it is in here, or, you know, walking, or just, you know, traveling or whatever, that's some of the 3 biggest pleasures. So when we're looking toward people at the moment from an inward and outward point of view, we have some major considerations. Everybody wants to be loved. People want to trust. People want respect. People want quality. People want some sort of sample or example of things before they're going to buy. People want to be made to feel special. People want some boundaries around things, and people want to be checked in on. Okay? That's what customers want. What they don't want is they don't want to feel that they're being pleased. They don't want to feel that they're being raised or groomed for something. They don't want to be told something, they can only do this, hence my problem with the lunch at the hotel. They don't want to be told, you know, they don't have a budget, or there is a budget, or something like that. They don't want to be told that here's all the knowledge, I'm going to fill your head full of knowledge, I'm going to be your guru. They don't want to feel it's a ghost town when they actually come to ask a question and nobody's home, right? And they don't want pressure. So if we can just consider these things, I think at the moment, then we will be in a much better situation to have not only better, longer lasting customer relationships, but more likelihood of being referred as well. And I think if you're doing all the things on the left-hand side of this list and none of the things on the right-hand side of this list, and then you actually tap somebody for a referral, I think that you've got a very, very good chance of getting that person to refer some people to you. So I want to go back in and ask you guys now, what do you think are some of the internal things that people are dealing with at the moment that's affecting their ability to do business with you, either positively or negatively? Let me read your comments, Steve. Someone called it a throne, very funny. There's a really interesting chat from medical doctor and MBA working with VSPSO. He was adamant that it will be human empathy factor that will keep medical practitioners as top of the job safety list. Yeah, that's if doctors had empathy. Maybe the ones with bedside manner, I'd agree, Steve, but I'm not so. I think that might be a very internal statement, and I don't think they'll go totally, but I think doctors, lawyers, accountants, financial planners, coaches, all of those people to a large extent are going to be removed. So, Ingi, communicate. Thank you. Economics. James, what do you mean by economics? Sorry, you're looking for something in your desk there.
Mike, people are very much aware in my customer base how much money they spend or how much money they have available.
Yep.
So I can see that they are affected by how frequently they visit me, how much money they spend per consultation. And they say, you know what, we really feel much better, but something popped up. I got a message last night. Something popped up at home. We have to repair, blah, blah, blah. But we are much better. We will only now see you in November.
Yep. Yep. That makes sense. I think there's a lot of that happening. Anyone else? So what do you feel the answer is to building a robust relationship with your customers, past, present, and future customers at the moment, right now as we stand on this call? What do you think the key is?
Mike?
Yes, James.
I think you must touch that point where they acknowledge that they have a problem, but you evoke such an emotion in them that they don't think of how much money they're going to spend. They must just say, you know what, let's freaking bite the bullet. Let me just do it now because I have to do it. And not consider these 10 possibilities why they cannot do it, but just evoke emotion in them that pushes them over to make a positive decision in your direction.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. And I think that we don't put enough emotion in it. And particularly, you know, you're dealing with an individual and you're dealing with their health, and that's always a really big thing. And some of you are dealing with a company and a person in a job. Don't assume that they don't have emotional triggers as well. They have massive emotional triggers. You've just got to point at them and push them. I'm just going to read what Steve said here and a couple of things in the chat, and then we'll go back. Watched a great movie on the flight over the Netherlands recently, The AI Doc, or How I Became a Apocalyptomist, where Daniel Rocher and Charlie Tyrrell interview and explore the positive and negatives of AI as we hurtle into the future. That's really cool. Very good. It sounds like a good movie to watch. Authenticity, totally agree. The more authentic we are at the moment, the better. And I think that's why if you're doing any posts or if you're doing any video, don't make it too polished. Don't make it too polished at the moment, right? The more polished it's likely to be, the more people are likely to go, oh, it's just AI. Asking more than telling. Yep, definitely. Ian, thanks. Authentic connections, regular touch point. Yep, Yaniv, did you have your hand up? Yes, you did.
I think two important things you mentioned is love your clients. I think the number one tip in sales is love your clients, because if you love people, they feel it and they love you back, and people need to be loved. And second of all, I think our clients need us to give them a safe environment, because the world out there is chaotic, and the news all the time, bad news, because this is the business model of the media, and there is AI changes all the time, and people are confused and they are afraid. And like you said, wars and etc. And then if they feel that you are there, you always been there for them, you always will be for them. It doesn't matter if I sell products or services or I'm consulting, whatever. They will come back again and again to me, and they will refer to me.
Yeah, very, very good advice. And I want to just pick up one thing that you said there when you said love your clients. We get told that a lot, and I know you don't mean it this way, so this is not aimed at you. This is aimed at the generics of, oh, we must love our clients. And we go, yeah, we love our clients because they pay us money. That's not loving your client, right? Love your client means you've got to be, it's like us. When we see your happy, smiling faces on these calls, we're like generally really happy. We're just really happy to see you. If we have an event or something, you turn up, we're really happy to see you. We're excited to see you. That's what you should be. You know, you shouldn't be going to see a customer going, oh, I've got to put on a smile and love this mofo, you know. That's not what you should be doing.
I think it means that the client feels that he and I are on the same page or the same side. Because if you go on a plane, you don't check who is the pilot, right? Because the pilot flies with you. And if you go to a consultant, they will give you some advice, but you do it. But if I feel that the consultant he takes care of my money, like he take care of his money, then I feel secured, you know. So I think this is something that people need to be loved, to feel that you care about me and you care my interests are your interests.
Very wise. That's a very wise view. Annalise?
I think the role of AI, I think just brings us back to relationships. When it doesn't matter how much information my clients can get, they still have to make sense with it with another human being. And they can't make sense with it with AI because it overwhelms with information. And therefore, I think the human touch, if they get a human AI, we did. But before that, I don't think so.
Yep, agreed. Let me, Ingy, I'll come to you in a second, then to Ian. In our team sport context, same principle as in the workplace, we do a check-in. How are you feeling? Not what are you thinking? Amazing how many people will default to my viewpoint, thought, not feeling, emotion. 100%, Steve. Well said. Really good. Ingy.
Energy and excitement. You've got to be into what you're doing and what you're selling or the service that you're giving. You've got to portray that frequency. You've got to be on that level of what you're into, because you can't be dead and dreary about what you do. People are not going to buy into that. You've got to be excited about it, and people will be uplifted and they will be excited about it too. And you've got to be passionate about what you do, and it wraps off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And you know, we all have shitty days, right? So if you're not excited today, the best thing I can tell you to do, from my good friend Don Tolman, is just go for a walk. It's impossible to be upset whilst you're going for a walk. I've tried it. Just trust me. I have tried it on days where I've been really pissed off about something. Just go for a walk. And after, you know, don't go for a walk for 100 meters. You still might be a little pissed off. But go for a decent walk. You won't be pissed off when you come back. You'll actually be in a good space. You really will be.
Yeah, because it's movement.
Harry will agree with that. She knows that. Also, Ingy, did you see the note in the chat from Libby? She's giving you
Yes, I did.
phone number.
I took a snapshot.
Great. Ian.
So I want to build on Yaniv's point. Thank you, Yaniv. This idea of love, we must sometimes misunderstand what that means. Because when I talk about leadership is love, I often put up a slide which is a mother bird kicking the baby bird out the nest. It's an act of love, you know. And so when I say asking more than telling, the asking for me is the connection, that people feel heard, they feel seen, that kind of thing. But there are times where you do need to go that step further, and you got to challenge them. And sometimes you got to challenge the shit out of them. Sorry to say it that way, but because that's what they need as an act of love. And if they know that you're doing it as an act of love, and maybe my final comment on this is I've been working a lot with the head of growth of a particular company, and she says the facilitators that fail, the coaches that fail, are when they feel that they're there to serve their content more than they're there to serve their client.
Absolutely. It's so true, because we had a situation at our Bali Business School this year where it was obvious to us at the end of day one that a lot of the things that we had planned that people were excited about in the program, they actually didn't want, by the nature of the people that were there. So whilst they went and you know, had their pre-dinner drinks and that, Lundy and I sat down and reprogrammed the whole week based on who the people were and what had come out of that first day. And, you know, we had people say to us, thank you so much we know you changed the program to suit us. I go, yeah, well, it's not about the program. I don't care whether I share A or B, right? I just care that you get what you want. That's the most important thing. Okay, we're coming to the end. Let me just go to the chat. It's good. Great conversation. Steve Evans had a great conversation with Libby yesterday about the importance of EQ and leadership. That's fantastic. And you have to love what you do. It needs to be clear to the client. Absolutely. They'll read it on your face, Annalise. They'll read it on your face the minute they see you. Yes, Libby. I'd say lucky last.
Mike, for me, in terms of connecting with clients, I'm so inspired by Tiffany Markham's video posts on LinkedIn. Because with the whole AI thing, if you're just brave enough, I've only done it once or twice, and it takes a lot of courage for me to do it. But it's just so nice to listen to somebody speaking about what they are an expert in as opposed to reading it. So that's something that I want to get braver to do. And also just to comment what you said earlier on, this is a wonderful platform to support each other. And Steve and I had a great conversation. And any of you that have not chatted to Steve need to. He's our very own Olympian in the Circle of Excellence. And he's got a lot to share with all of us.
He certainly does, and he's a fantastic human being. Thank you, Libby. Well, thank you, everybody. Hopefully you found that useful today. Next week, we have Rob Robertson joining us, and I was speaking with him yesterday. In fact, he's got some really cool AI stuff he wants to share with us of things that he runs a company called Unboxed Me. Rob's got two worlds. He owns a retreat business just outside of Auckland in New Zealand, and then he has this company called Unboxed Me, which is about systemizing about systems in business. So he's been telling me about some of the cool things he's been doing, which is going to help you prospect a little bit better and get to the right people. So be there for that one. We've got some really nice presenters coming up between now and the end of the year as well. So thank you for being here today, everybody. Steve's put his phone number in the chat there, so take a screenshot if anybody wants to WhatsApp Steve and have a chat with him, and he'll gladly do it. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll talk soon. Bye.